What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Few. We are not doing the podcast today. We are doing a Week 3 headlines and major events type thing. We are talking about today OBJ, D-Hop, Elijah Mitchell, and CMC. But before we get into that, I want to quick fire some news, some headlines that we have around the league. We have T. Higgins, who is a shoulder injury, and he has a possible AC joint sprain, hopefully a grade 1, but he's likely not to play this week. Mason said if he does, he's just going to be a decoy, and I completely agree with that. What does this mean? It means Jamar Chase, and more importantly to me, Tyler Boyd is going to be a huge target in that offense, and he's going to have his first good game of the season. Next person to talk about quickly is Amari Cooper. He's got fractured ribs, and he'll be wearing a flak jacket. Mason, again, doesn't expect him to do much. He's expecting him to be more of a decoy out there, but I expect him to get some targets still and pull in a decent fantasy day for you. Carson Wentz, he's high and low ankle sprain, and that's a pretty big deal. He's maybe going to play, practiced for the first time today, which would have been Thursday. And if he doesn't play, that means Jacob Eason is getting the start, and that pretty much means don't start any Colts receivers, and that might hurt Jonathan Taylor again as well. Next up, Josh Jacobs. Turf toe and ankle injury. He could miss up to 4 weeks. Pretty dangerous considering most people drafted him to be a RB2 on their fantasy teams. Hopefully you guys got backups for him. And Kenyon Drake might benefit from this. Who knows? It's John Gruden's offense. We don't know. And then our last quick fire here is Deontay Johnson. He has a knee injury, and he is officially ruled out. What does this mean for Claypool and Juju? Who knows? I haven't really liked the Steelers receiving core all year, but Juju, in my opinion, is going to shoot up in terms of targets, and then Claypool is still just going to be meh. So, on to our actual major headlines of the week. We're going to start with Christian McCaffrey. Thursday Night Football has a hamstring injury. The severity is not known, but this is likely to be a 3-week injury for him. Mason, what do you think about this one?
I just want to talk about the movement first, just being a movement type of guy. He was trying to do this little juke straddle thing. His leg was up in the air. His leg landed way too far in front of the body. And that ultimately caused the hamstring injury. This just comes with CMC being a agility freak. He can move his body in certain ways, but this cost him. Now we're likely to see Chuba Hubbard to get some carries. What do you guys think about that?
That's all you, Paul.
He was a 2,000 scrimmage yard player at Oklahoma State his last season. I think he filled in pretty admirably throughout the game for Christian McCaffrey. He started off a little slow, but then as the game wore on, you could see him starting to get 5-7 yard runs. He did drop a touchdown opportunity on the goal line. It was a little swing pass to him out of the backfield. So I know that they also have Royce Freeman there as well. That might eat into the touches. They talked about signing Duke Johnson, but he's also in talks about signing with San Francisco. We'll get into that a little bit. But I think Chuba Hubbard, I think if you have him on your team, if you drafted him in a deeper league, or if you just drafted him in a regular league, I wouldn't say it's not good to start him. He'll show the potential. We've seen that they'll rely on the run in that offense. So I think he'll be fine.
I want to say
one quick thing. Yeah, you go.
I was going to say, if this hamstring injury is bad, you might want to consider actually potentially trading the guy, because hamstring injuries don't just go away. You don't just wait 3 weeks and you're good to go again. A hamstring injury is a bad injury, and you can continue to re-aggravate it throughout the entire season. Sort of, Paul brought this up to me before the video. He said that Julio Jones dealt the exact same thing last year, and what did he do? He missed game after game after game. He'd leave the game early. It could be the same thing with McCaffrey. So if you guys, right now is probably the perfect time to sell him, or maybe in a couple of weeks before he's supposed to come back. That's just my take on that.
Yeah, I like that.
Took the words right out of my mouth. One thing to think about, Darnold's been playing really well. He might start to struggle. They will now put the pressure on Darnold. They will make him throw. Does this mean Robbie Anderson gets back into the mix a little more? I don't know. DJ Moore's been the guy. Time will tell. Let's go ahead and move on to Elijah Mitchell. What do you guys think about that?
Well, he has that shoulder AC sprain. So
Yep.
he's not playing this week. It was announced that
I don't think that'll affect him as much as it affects wide receivers. He's going to be able to run the ball. You don't have to worry about him reaching up to catch balls. I can still see him playing, but they've got other running backs there now. So why not use the other running backs and keep them healthy while you can?
I would be scared of Elijah Mitchell right now because if Trey Sermon goes out there and proves to why he deserved to get drafted where he was in fantasy drafts this year, it's not going to look good for Elijah Mitchell because Elijah Mitchell could miss the week after that as well. And if Trey Sermon balls out 2 straight weeks, I think it's an uphill battle for him to try and get that job back.
And we know Shanahan rolls with the hot hand.
Yep.
I just want to throw out there that Trey Sermon, he was listed as questionable all week in concussion protocol. He just got taken out of it today. So I don't know if that's something that they were possibly trying to rush him back a little bit so they have another starter out there. I think Jeff Wilson Jr., he's healthy. I think he's going to play. And like I said, they were also in talks with Duke Johnson about possibly coming in. And I think I just read that the Minnesota Vikings had released Amir Abdullah's what's his name?
Amir Abdullah.
Abdullah.
Yeah. That he's potentially going to be looked at as going over to San Francisco as kind of like a backup plan. It's just you've seen the same type of injuries throughout this backfield for the past 2 or 3 seasons now. They have so many guys over there, and it just seems like every one of them gets hurt at some point. And I don't want to put it on them that they are all injury prone because we have Elijah Mitchell, who's a rookie. We have Trey Sermon, who's a rookie. But to me, I would just typically stay away from this backfield because if you pick somebody up, if you spend fab on them throughout the week, like for instance, somebody in one of our leagues spent really high on Elijah Mitchell because they had Raheem Mostert. And now Elijah Mitchell is out. So if you spend a lot on fab or a little on fab, you might be wasting it just trying to, I guess, solidify your running back game. But to me, it's not really worth it because we have no idea which one's going to start, who's going to play, who's going to be healthy for the entire year.
One thing is for sure, if you're getting a 49ers running back, you know they're going to produce well if they start. That's for sure. There's no doubt about that in anyone's mind. Problem is, are they going to play more than 3 games a year? We'll never know. Next up, talk about a major headline number 3, DeAndre Hopkins. He had a rib injury that nobody expected to happen. It kind of just came out of nowhere. Mason, what do you think about this injury?
I think he's actually beat up a little bit. I don't think it's that typical, let's throw him on the questionable report to throw teams off and to give him a little extra rest. I think he's actually feeling pain. That being said, I think another thing again, I think if he's playing, might just be out there for a decoy. They've got plenty of weapons on that offense. They've got AJ Green. They've got Rondale Moore. They've got Christian Kirk. Their tight ends are working, so I think that offense is running real smooth right now. Paul, you got any?
I mean, just for fantasy aspect, if he doesn't play, for people who might have picked up Rondale Moore recently in the last week or so after his blow up, or if Christian Kirk is still out there available on your waivers, it's definitely somebody to look at. I expect AJ Green to kind of take over the D-Hop role where they might put him one-on-one because he's a bigger body, but I wouldn't expect him to produce anything close to like D-Hop. But like I said, if you have the ability to go out and grab Rondale Moore or Christian Kirk, I would do so because we know that they're going to throw the ball just as much as Kyler loves to run it. And I feel like they'll benefit if D-Hop is out. You might not get the huge pass plays like we did when you have the threat of D-Hop out there. But I think a lot of them are going to get the targets, they're going to get the volume, and they'll have decent fantasy days.
All right. Yep. And I just want to say I think D-Hop's still going to be fine. If you have him on your team, you have to start him if he's playing. That's just how that works with that guy because he's so talented. Last major point that we have today is OBJ making his potential debut against the Chicago Bears this week. And I just want to start off and say I think OBJ, if he actually is healthy and 100% and ready to go, he could have a very big day against this Chicago Bears secondary. Now, Jalen Johnson's a great one-on-one defender. However, the safeties for the Bears this year have been very, very bad. So that deep ball is there, and OBJ likes that deep ball.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. If they have him on a snap count, then if he gets lucky on one of those deep balls, great. I don't expect a huge fantasy performance from OBJ, but it would be nice to see him go out there and get some work in.
And just to speak to kind of what Stone was talking about, the Chicago secondary, Tayshaun Gibson is doubtful. So that would, I think, put DeAndre Houston Carson in the starting lineup if he doesn't play. Sorry about my dog. But it's just, if OBJ is healthy, which he was a healthy scratch, I think, or they said that he wasn't ready week 1. Week 2, I think he might have been a healthy scratch because he was thinking that he was good enough to go. So with the injuries to Jarvis Landry, I don't know if they're kind of trying to just rush him back in there because, like, okay, well, now you're going to play. You were potentially healthy enough last week, but you're going to play this week because we need you. And otherwise, other than that, I think they're going to have to rely heavily on their tight ends because Donovan Peoples-Jones and Rashard Higgins haven't really brought a lot of fantasy value. Been with OBJ not being out and just having Jarvis over there. So I think that if anybody's going to benefit, OBJ will potentially have that big play like you were talking about. But I think he might also be a decoy, allowing the tight ends, David Njoku, Austin Hooper, Harrison Bryant, to kind of get more involved with Baker. But again, being a Bears fan, I think that they are going to find a way. This defense, they stepped up last week. I think they're going to find a way to kind of shut this offense down. Let's say I think Nick Chubb's still going to get his because he is a beast of a running back. But yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about it.
I think OBJ, I think he's a solid flex option at best this week. If you're running low on flex options, he could definitely be plugged in there, and he might do well for you. But that is all we have time for today, guys. Thanks for sticking around and listening to the Week 3 headlines for the NFL. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, comment down below. Any starting advice that you guys need will help you out in the comments for sure. But in the meantime, we're the Fantasy Few. Mason, do you want to take it away?
Fantasy Few out, baby. Let's go.